The day I learned to be silent was the day my life finally became loud enough to be heard. Not the silence of fear, not the silence of being ignored, but the silence of a woman who knows her worth so deeply that she no longer needs to announce it. Silence became my most dangerous weapon. Because when you stop explaining, stop begging, stop defending, stop proving, something shifts. The world leans in. The noise around you fades. Presence begins to speak before your words ever do. I grew up in rooms where I was told to be grateful for being allowed to exist. Spaces where I was reminded, sometimes gently, sometimes brutally, that I was replaceable, that I was too much, that my dreams were too big, that my accent was too different, that my skin, my confidence, my ambition made people uncomfortable. And for a long time, I tried to soften myself so the world would accept me. I smiled when I was hurt. I over-explained when I was misunderstood. I apologized when I wasn't wrong. I spoke when silence would have been more powerful. Until one day I realized the world doesn't listen to the loudest voice. It listens to the most grounded presence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is restraint. Silence is mastery. Silence is knowing that your value does not decrease just because someone refuses to see it. When you walk into a room and you don't rush to prove who you are, when you don't chase validation, when you don't shrink or perform, when you simply are, people feel it. They may not understand it, but they feel it. Silence teaches you who is really listening. Silence teaches you who only valued your noise, your compliance, your emotional labor. Silence strips away illusions. Because when you stop talking, you start seeing. You see who claps when you rise. You see who becomes uncomfortable when you don't need them anymore. You see who only loved you when you were small, quiet, manageable. And you see who respects you when you stand in your truth without a single word. There were moments in my life when rejection spoke louder than applause. Closed. Opportunities slipped away. People doubted. People judged. People underestimated. And I could have screamed. I could have argued. I could have tried to convince the world that I was enough. But silence whispered something stronger. Let your work answer. Let your growth respond. Let your presence be the proof. Silence is the space where confidence matures. It is where ego dissolves and purpose becomes clear. It is where you stop reacting and start choosing. When you are silent, you stop feeding the fires of doubt. Stop giving energy to opinions that were never meant to guide your life. Stop negotiating your worth with people who only understand their own limitations. Silence makes people uncomfortable because it removes their control. They cannot read you. They cannot manipulate you. They cannot predict you. What they cannot control, they begin to respect or fear. There is a sacred power in being unbothered, in listening more than you speak, observing before you act, in holding your emotions with dignity instead of displaying them for approval. A woman who has mastered silence is a woman who has mastered herself. She does not need to shout to be strong. She does not need to argue to be right, does not need to beg to be loved. She stands, and the room rearranges itself around her. Silence also protects your dreams. Not everyone deserves to know what you are building. Not everyone deserves access to your hopes, your plans, your vulnerabilities. Some people will only use your truth to limit you. So you move quietly. You grow privately. You heal without announcing. You rise without warning. And one day, when they finally notice, your silence will have already done the work. I learned that not every battle deserves my voice. Some deserve my distance. Some deserve my patience. Some deserve my calm confidence. And some deserve nothing at all. There is strength in choosing peace over performance. There is courage in not needing the last word. There is royalty in knowing that you don't have to explain your crown. Silence is where resilience is born. Because when the world tests you, it is not your loudness that saves you. It is your steadiness. It is your ability to remain rooted when storms try to shake you. It is your refusal to let chaos dictate your worth. I have walked through criticism that could have broken me. I have stood in spaces where I was the only one who looked like me, spoke like me, dreamed like me. And instead of shrinking, I listened. Instead of reacting, I observed. Instead of fighting for space, I became space. And the world eventually made room. Silence taught me that power is not in proving people wrong. Power is in becoming so undeniable that explanation becomes unnecessary. If you are standing in a moment where your voice feels tired, where your heart is heavy, where your spirit is questioning its worth, remember this: you don't need to scream to be seen. You don't need to explain to be understood by those who truly matter. You don't need to chase respect. You embody it. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Let it be the place where your confidence gathers strength. Let it be the armor that protects your softness and the throne that supports your power. Because when you finally speak after mastering silence, your words will not beg. They will not plead. They will not seek permission. They will command. They will carry the weight of everything you endured quietly. They will echo the nights you cried alone, the doubts you swallowed, the strength you built when no one was watching. They will not come from desperation. They will come from depth, because silence doesn't make you empty. Silence fills you. It teaches you to listen to your own soul instead of the noise of the world. Stay silent long enough, you start hearing a different voice inside you. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of comparison, not the voice that asks, "Am I enough?" But the voice that says, "I know who I am, and I am not here to convince anyone." That is when you stop performing and start becoming. Silence teaches you patience in a world addicted to instant reactions. It teaches you self-respect in a culture that rewards oversharing. Teaches you emotional intelligence in an environment that glorifies drama. You begin to understand that every time you react, give away your power. Every time you argue with someone who is committed to misunderstanding you, you lower your frequency. Every time you explain yourself to someone who has already decided not to believe you, you waste your breath. And one day you decide, my peace is more valuable than being right. My growth is more important than being applauded. My journey is too sacred to be narrated by people who are not walking it, so you become quiet. Not because you are scared, but because you are selective. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your energy. Not everyone deserves to hear your story. Not everyone deserves to witness your vulnerability. Silence becomes your filter. It separates the curious from the committed, the spectators from the supporters, the noise from the truth. And in that quiet, start building a relationship with yourself that no opinion can break. You stop asking the world, "Did you see me?" And you start asking yourself, "Do I see myself?" You stop asking, "Am I loved?" And you start asking, "Am I loving myself the way I deserve?" You stop asking, "Am I chosen?" And you start saying, "I choose myself." That is when your life begins to shift. Because a woman who has chosen herself no longer begs for validation. She attracts alignment. She no longer chases attention. She commands presence. Her silence carries confidence. Her stillness carries authority. Her calm carries a message: I am not in competition. I am in my own lane, and I am moving with purpose. And purpose does not need noise. Purpose needs focus. In silence, you learn discipline. You learn to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. You learn to process emotions instead of performing them. You learn to respond from wisdom instead of wounds. You realize that some battles are not meant to be fought with words. They are meant to be won with consistency, with resilience, with becoming so strong that the very situation that tried to break you ends up building you. Silence teaches you to trust timing. Not everything needs an immediate answer. Not every door needs to be forced open. Not every no is a rejection. Sometimes it is redirection. In silence, you learn to wait without losing faith, to be still without feeling stuck, pause without believing you are failing. You understand that roots grow in darkness, and the strongest trees rise because they spent time unseen. If you are in a season where you feel unnoticed, unheard, underestimated, this is not your punishment. This is your preparation. The world is not ignoring you. It is shaping you, and silence is the classroom. Here, you learn humility. Here, you learn strength without arrogance. You learn confidence without ego. Here, you learn that you don't need to announce your arrival when your impact will do it for you. One day, we'll walk into a room and nothing will need to be said. Your posture will speak, your eyes will speak, your calm will speak. Energy will say everything your mouth no longer has to. And people will feel it. They won't know why, but they will feel it. Because silence, when carried by self-belief, becomes presence. And presence is power. So don't be afraid of being quiet. Don't be afraid of stepping back. Don't be afraid of letting go of the need to be understood by everyone. Be understood by yourself first. Stand with yourself first. Believe in yourself when no one else is clapping. Let your silence be your training ground. Let it sharpen you. Let it mature you. Let it elevate you. And when the time comes for you to speak, when your voice finally rises, it will not be to ask for permission. It will be to remind the world, I was never invisible, I was becoming.